I'm not as young as I once was, or as famous. To you, I'm probably just a sign on the road you pass on your way out of town. Maybe you didn't notice me at all, but I haven't moved from this spot for over 60 years. I'm still your neighbor. I've watched the seasons change and the years drift by while this city has built up around me. Time has given me wrinkles, bald spots, arthritis. No, I wasn't always like this. I meant something to this city and the people who lived here, to the world of racing. They took care of me. And all you can see now is what was left behind. A has-been. Would you notice if I vanished? I'm here to tell you that beneath these chipped wooden rails and concrete blocks lies more. My story, my spirit, something time can never take away. The year I was born was the same year NASCAR introduced itself to the world, 1948. Back then I was still dirt and clay, no pavement. Not for many years at least. I think that's what most people liked about me. My turns were narrow and there were only thin wooden guardrails separating me from the woods behind. I'm only half a mile around, but man was I tough. I had to be to gain a reputation in stock car. And if that first race in April of '48 hadn't been as successful as it was, with over 10,000 folks packed in, no one would have ever given me the time of day. It was the best welcome I could have asked for. In 1951, NASCAR came calling. I hit the big leagues. I was afforded 2 races a year as part of the Grand National Series. As the muggy southern heat warmed my body, I knew I'd found my place. Every day a new story was made. I remember once Bobby Isaac crashed through the fence around turn 1 and into a ravine, but turned around and used an access road to get back in the race. And then there was the time a tire flew off a car speeding around turn 4 and went into the stands, killing a spectator. Once, back around 1970, I remember a race where 2 cars battling for the lead got together coming out of turn 2. The leader flipped onto the passenger side and slid about 50 feet down the backstretch as the second place car shot by. He had to wiggle around a bit to right the car, but it wasn't long before he was back on all 4 wheels, throwing it into gear and back in the hunt. I think he finished 3rd that night. And there was one young man I remember who started his first race here, who won his first race here, and then won the most races here, and won the last race here. Surely he was destined for glory, especially with a nickname like the King. I became close with some of the fiercest racers of the day. Buddy, Cotton, Fonty, David, Ned, Buck, Richard, Cale, Junior, Ralph, Bobby, Tim, Bud, Speedy. I can still remember the way they drove, the way they spoke, the energy that followed them. They helped make those 20 years the best times of my life. But what I recall the most were those energizing rallies that lit up the sky on Thursday nights. I think that's what most fans remember about me too. I bet you didn't know this, but I was the first track to have lights and the first track to ever run on a Thursday. It seems like a random day, but that's the day the military boys got paid. If we had waited until the weekend, none of them would have had any money left. Back then it cost 99 cents to get in, but we'd put on one hell of a show. Drivers would stop by on their way to Daytona or Charlotte or Darlington just to race. Most of the time you wouldn't even know who was on the roster until you got here. Those were the good old days, when cars weren't plastered with ads and endorsements. They'd get down and dirty. they race for money. I can almost hear the roar of the crowd as Jarrett zooms past Whitt, revving his engine around the second turn as if their spirit is tattooed here.
Most of the drivers is the place you want to pass here, but as you can see, it's very, very difficult to get by anybody. You want to make a move. There it is, right alongside. Great racing, right alongside.
And that's how it went for 2 decades. The magic ended when they brought in the trucks. I didn't hardly know what the commotion was about, but 1971 will always be a year I remember. They dumped asphalt all over me like a mud bath that wouldn't wash off. It hardened like a suit of armor, weighing heavily on my skin until I couldn't breathe. I heard talk that other dirt tracks were being paved, so I guess it was my time. But the races were different from then on, more dangerous than before. The cars had gotten faster. I became too slick. Drivers flew off my shoulders left and right, leaving screech marks on my back. In the distance, I heard the sound of construction resonate louder and louder. The city was expanding, and I was in its way. The locals stopped coming on Thursday, and instead complained about the noise.
How long has this problem been out here at Columbia Speedway?
Well, it started this year. We just haven't been able to get the people to come out to see the shows, and we've had the best shows that I have ever seen. Like the last race, we had a 100-lap race and not even a caution flag. But maybe your people want to see a few fender bangings and a few cars tow up.
Soon, no one came. Just over halfway through the decade, my career was over. I slept for over 20 years. Sometimes I'd barely awaken to the low murmur of voices negotiating my price and considering my fate. Trailers were sold out of my parking lot in the 80s. They even considered building a Walmart on top of me. When the new millennium came, my hair had grown out like the beard of a recluse. There were times that I forgot where I was or why I was here. Everyone I knew was gone. But in 2000, some strangers on thin two-wheel machines jolted me awake and started cleaning me off.
And 25 years after the last race on that track, a Midlands Bicycle Club is hoping to bring racing back to the aging oval. We get the story from Drew Stewart.
I'm not sure how they found me through the clenched fists of Mother Nature. Ten days before my 61st birthday, I was thrown the biggest surprise party I could have ever asked for. I got to see my friends again.
And this is where racing really got started here at Columbia Motor Speedway.
But it's pretty nice to see all the people come out here and remember the Columbia Speedway. It was a special track for me. We had a certain amount of success here.
I thought they'd forgotten about me.
I had to get a golf cart to bring me in. They have like 20,000 people already here. Not bad for a racetrack. I hadn't seen action in quite a while, but there's a lot of memories here.
A few years later, I got a desperately needed haircut. New clothes. I felt alive for the first time in decades. It's been a long journey from a spot I've never moved. And looking back, I know I'm better because of it. We've all seen our fair share of excitement, wonder, heartbreak. I'm no different from anything else with a past. These 60-something years peel away like layers when I think of all that I have left to offer. I look fondly back at the glory days of V8 engines flying down my straights and curves, wishfully thinking that such memories will be a part of my future. I know the kind folks who've resurrected an old track like me have big plans in mind. Ideas that will get me going again and have people coming back for more. The same way those Thursday nights drew people in and brought this town together. Though right now, no racing. But maybe someday.
I might be on a fire anthill.